What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Couch Chronicles. If this is your first time watching and you don't know who I am, my name is Lacey, and thank you so much for tuning in. But before we go any further, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You know what to do. You know where it is. I want you to get the updates, and I want you to join the Pink Couch Chronicles family because we are continuously growing. So today I kind of wanted to talk about, I guess, just like life in DC. If you don't know, I moved here in June of last year, and it has definitely been really interesting transition coming from North Carolina, where I was born and raised, lived pretty much like my entire life, went to college there. And so I did like move away for like a few months at a time, just for a little bit. But like for the most part, like I lived in North Carolina. And so this is like my first time really living somewhere else. And so I get a lot of questions like from people back home asking what it's like, what life is like in DC. So I thought that I would just kind of give you guys like an overview. And I think this week I might even record like a day in the life of like whatever. I don't know if I'm gonna take you guys, well, I guess I'm gonna take you guys to work and just see like how it is commuting and all that good stuff. So I want to talk about like my transition from North Carolina to DC and just kind of like what to expect if you are someone who's watching this video and you're thinking about moving to DC or even moving to another city. One thing that was, I don't want to say it was a huge shock to me because I kind of expected it, but it was just like, it just kind of became my reality, is that rent in DC is so expensive. And it's not as bad, of course, as like New York City, but rent in DC is like still ridiculously high. And that's kind of one thing that I had to be really mindful about. And if you are thinking about moving to DC, just know that you're going to have to compromise on some things based on like your budget and like what area you want to be in and just kind of what kind of things you want in your apartment. So I'll tell you what I looked for when I was apartment hunting. I really wanted to be in an area. First of all, I really wanted to be like close to the metro. Even though when I first came up here, I did have my car, so it wouldn't have been an issue for me to like commute and, you know, get around to different places. But if I was gonna move to the city, like I really wanted to feel like I was living in the city. And so I wanted to be able to take the metro as much as possible. Even though like people who are actually from DC or even like people who've been here for a while or even almost me now, I'm just like, all right, it's just the metro. But like moving here, I just thought it was just like the best thing ever to just get on the metro and ride the train, like to go anywhere. So I really wanted to be in a location that was close to a metro stop. I wanted to be able to walk to certain things as well, like within my neighborhood. I am not like in super close walking distance to a grocery store. The closest one, there's about two in opposite directions that are both about like 15 to 17-minute walks apart, which especially in the winter, that's a long time. Like that's a long walk. So I'll also tell you a little bit about, I guess, like how I get my groceries and stuff like that now. I wanted to be in a location that I could like walk to stuff where there was like restaurants or little shops, grocery store, just kind of like things to do. I didn't want to just be in like a strictly residential neighborhood. I also really, I don't want to say I really, but I kind of wanted something that was upgraded, because that's just like what I'm used to living in North Carolina. Like I'm used to like nicer like apartment finishes, and this might not be important to other people. Again, you have to kind of think about what you want when you're looking for an apartment, but that was something that was really important for me, was just kind of having like the nice finishes, just having like feeling like I was just really comfortable in my space and that I really liked my space. So that was important for me. Speaking of space, I had already kind of made up in my mind, or at least prepared myself, that I was going to have to get a studio apartment. So as you can see, I do live in a studio apartment, and I'm comfortable with the price. We'll get into that later. So I kind of knew that being that rent was so expensive in DC, I was probably only going to be able to afford a studio apartment. And I even saw like a 1-bedroom that I could afford, And I walked into the one bedroom and I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is so big. Like I've been touring studio apartments and they feel so cozy, and I'm, got my mind made up that I'm gonna have to live in a studio apartment. And so I could have taken that one bedroom apartment, but it just felt so big. And also being like a new city, I don't know, I just wanted something that felt like a little bit more cozy. So I'm like really happy with the apartment complex that I chose. I'm not gonna tell y'all where I live because that's personal and I still live here and I want y'all stalking me. But anyways, I'm really happy with the apartment complex that I chose because there is a metro stop that is literally a block away. My apartment is absolutely gorgeous. It has like all of the nice finishes, granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, the faux hardwood floors. The only thing that I also really wanted was I wanted a full balcony because I just love to be able to sit outside, especially when the weather is nice, and like drink coffee and read and write and all that good stuff. But I don't have a full balcony. That's something that I, had to compromise on. But I do have a Juliet balcony. So that's, still nice to open that up. I am also not like right in the heart of DC, which I kind of wanted. But when you're looking at apartments in DC, unless you have like a really, really large budget, or at least for me, it was large, but unless you have a decent budget to be able to live in the heart of DC, then you're gonna have to compromise. Because I did see some apartments like in DC that I could have afforded, but the apartments were much smaller. They were still studios, of course, but they were much smaller studios. And I wouldn't have had a balcony. Like the building would have been old, the apartment would have been old, it wouldn't have had all the nice finishes and things like that. So I decided to compromise my location for all of the other things that I listed that my apartment has. Now, granted, even though, I'm not necessarily right in DC, I still have a DC address. So that's how close I am. I'm not like downtown or in Noma or anything like that, but I still have a DC address. So that kind of tells you how close I am still, like to where everything is, like actually in the heart of DC. So that's just kind of one thing that you have to think about if you are thinking about moving to DC. Another question that I get is like, how is it riding the metro? And I personally don't have like a bad experience riding the metro at all. I don't really see crazy people like that. Every now and then it's like one or two, but I mean, other than that, it's good. I've gotten used to it. Yeah, I ride the metro like every single day. Going back to my apartment and apartment hunting, that's another thing too. Like, I'm really glad that like my apartment is on the same line as my job, so I don't have to transfer. I don't have a long commute to work at all, so that's really helpful too. Another question I get about DC is, how is the crime? So before I moved to DC, like I have a lot of like Facebook friends and stuff that are from DC or live in DC, and so I would always see the news and I would see them like posting articles about like shootings that were happening and stuff like that. So before I came to DC, honestly, I thought like the whole entire city was just like, shootings and crime and all this good stuff. And it didn't really make me nervous, but it made me want to be a little bit more watchful. But since I've been in DC, like I really haven't seen like a lot of stuff. Like I've never had a moment where I felt uncomfortable in any area that I've been in. Now, granted, I'm sure, not to throw any shade, but I'm pretty sure that like everything mostly happens in Southeast. I'm not trying to be shady. I'm just trying to be real. Everything happens in Southeast and I don't really go to Southeast. So I'm gonna leave it at that. But I don't really feel uncomfortable here in DC. I think that from what I've seen, like it's pretty decent area to live in. It's definitely not in the South though, like where everybody smiles at you and waves at you even if they don't know you. Like some people are real life rude, and if you've ever been to Texas, you know that Texas people are really rude and really racist. And to be honest, for DC to be such a progressive area, like some of them are rude and racist. Like I've had my experiences here in DC, but for the most part, it's been a good experience, like interacting with different people. One thing that I do love about DC is that there is always something to do. And it's always like something free to do as well, especially when it's warmer outside. Right now, like it's freezing cold. It's a whole nother story, y'all. Me and this weather is not really getting along. But anyways, when the weather is actually nice outside, like it's always some kind of festival or some kind of like live music happening, or just it's just always something going on. And there's still a lot of stuff going on, like free stuff going on in the winter too, but it's just not as much as it is in the summer. But year round, like all of the Smithsonian, well, I think all of the Smithsonian museums are free. So you can always go to the Smithsonian museums, and each museum is always doing like their own programs and things like that. So that's pretty cool. DC is a really great place to like experience and learn about different cultures and different people, and also just like about the history of this country as well. Now, my advice to anyone who is thinking about moving to a new city, period, is to just do your research. Like before I moved here, or even not even like really before, well, yeah, I guess it was before I moved here when I was actually looking for an apartment, and when I was just like trying to transition here, I did a ton of research about just like the different areas and different neighborhoods that I should stay in. And so that really helped me a lot in my search as well, because I didn't know too many people in the DC area that could give me advice. So I would just tell you to do your research, be prepared, especially financially, for the cost of moving, because it is not cheap, especially if you are moving, like if you already have an apartment and you're moving to another city. It's not cheap at all. And even if you don't have like storage and furniture and all that stuff that you have to move, you have to be prepared to put money down in your apartment and your utilities and all that other good stuff. But overall, my experience in DC has been really great, and I'm just really glad that I got this opportunity to live somewhere outside of North Carolina, because I don't know if that opportunity is ever going to be afforded to me again, because I am about to get married, and more than likely I will be moving back to North Carolina. So it has definitely taught me a lot. I feel like I've grown even more as a person since I've been here. And yeah, I'm just really grateful for this experience. If you guys have any other questions about living in DC, things to do in DC, visiting DC, or even just about moving to a new city, period, feel free to leave me a comment in the box below and I will try to respond to you. Thank you guys again for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you on the next video. Bye.